your book might start to take itself over. So let's say you're doing your memoir, right? Here's something I tell people, and unless you came from unicorns and cotton candy and all that stuff, it's like when you go to write a memoir, it's very few people, if any, that I know that have done a memoir that have not been served by having a therapist or a coach, like someone from the psychology part of it, because you're going to bring things up. You're just going to bring things up. You might decide not to put them in the book, but you're going to be going back in time, whether it was a divorce that you got over, whether it was when your mother passed away or whatever. I always say, don't do a memoir without a therapist or a counselor, truly. So you need somebody that knows psychology. That's my opinion on that.
I want to invite you into the Business Network, my free school community for entrepreneurs and business owners who want to grow their network and scale their business. Inside, you'll get step-by-step lessons, monthly workshops, feedback, scripts, resources, bonuses, and a community of like-minded people who believe in helping each other win. Join us today at school.com/thebusinessnetwork and click Join Group. I'll see you inside.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona, and I love doing podcasts. I know a lot of you've heard that, but you meet somebody for the first time, and we have these worlds that connect, and it's just powerful. You know, me and my guest, we're going to do some big things in the world, and she doesn't know, maybe she does now, but I'm just feeling that. But before we bring her on, she's got some great stuff we're going to talk about. Here's our gratitude for today. Let's start off with a positive note. Believe in yourself, and anything is possible. You are amazing, and anything is possible. But I think my guest will agree, you got to take action to make that possible. So let's bring our guest on. Deb, so welcome to the show.
Wow, look at that. I feel like we've had about 3 or 4 of them this morning. What a powerful conversation. What a beautiful surprise, right?
Amen. It absolutely. I mean, that's why I tell people they just jump into a meeting. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, sometimes they're neutral. It's just you've met a new friend, and that's okay as well. But we didn't know when we jumped on a call today. No idea what was going to happen.
Thank you, Mark. Mark who?
Yeah. Mark, if you're listening, we'll figure you out later, but thank you. And that's what happens. We got big networks like both of us. But you want to start the show with the decision to write a business book and what those steps are, what we need to do.
So the interesting thing about the book that we're talking about in particular, because I've written many and I've helped co-produce many and collectives for other people, but there was one book in particular. It's called Mission Accepted: 262 Women, Entrepreneurs, Creatives, and Media, Rock Legacy and Tell All. And it was really important to do this book in relationship to finding a criteria. So the criteria for the book was to create through mediums, right? Book, platforms, TV, whatever, the largest International Women's Day, not in the world so we could buy a t-shirt, the largest International Women's Day movement in relationship to being able to have speed to make known to all the women around the world. And we're for women and those who support women, so basically cool dudes. So I was sharing earlier, to be able to come to a place to get filled up. And the truth is, in the world of entrepreneurship, there's times where you'd like to just hand the keys to the business over to someone else one day and go to the spa. And we wanted people, when they read the book, felt like they were at the spa. We wanted them to feel like they were in restoration, because to drive some of this gumption into actualization and make impact takes, when people go, oh, it's been such a journey. Can I just be a little offside Janis Joplin? And I'll tell you what I say. You know what a journey is? A journey is going from one pub to another in Ireland and having a nice cold Guinness when you get there. What we do is called the stretch. This is the stretch. And if you don't know it yet, get your running shoes, because it's going to be. And so the whole idea around the book was to make huge impact, which is, 262 came about. I showed you that number and why that came to us. And so it was making impact. 5-year book tour, super cool, 5 million media impressions in 3 years, given out at Emmy Suites and Oscar Suites and all the things that happen when you do unforeseen. But the decision was coming up. We are coming to the close of a 5-year book tour in 2027. And if you know how long it takes to put 262 women in a book, you don't flip that switch 4 months before the close of the other book. I mean, the book's never going to go away, but it was just on my heart, I'll say. So I took myself out of the office and I went and did what every CFO would be super proud, and I ran the numbers. Like, was it worth it? This team had went from a team of 4 to a team of 12. How do we sustain that with an accessibility project, right? And you know what I mean by that. Accessibility means we have to have prices that are accessible to everybody. And just the whole time frame and all that. So I sat there and I ran numbers and ran numbers and ran numbers and ran numbers in every different way. And I was like, okay, this is the reality of the numbers. If we do it this way, this is going to be what it is. And so I kind of just wrote it out and left it out. Now, my CFO had her opinion. My staff had their opinion. What was it going to take to do another run of 262 women? This is not a small task. This is a large investment of time and energy, because it's not just the women, it's the marketing of the book for a multi-year tour. And we're talking castles in Ireland to small events in Denver so it kept sitting with me. It wasn't a yes or a close. Now, like most things that make a decision, I was walking through the kitchen because, I have a house office. I have an office. So I was in my, kitchen office going to my desk, and I heard, "You're not done yet. Do the book." And I was like, damn you. So I announced to the team. So I'm on a staff meeting, right? Every Tuesday, 8 a.m. My whole team's together, and I go, so the decision is to do the book. And they all went silent. I thought it would be a cheers and, oh my gosh, I go, how you all doing? They're like, we're digesting. And because it is a high level force of expenditure, and this is about servant leadership, right? And so we all needed to come to that digestion of servant leading, yet for another 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And that's how that book. So now as we speak, we've just opened applications for 262.20. That'll be the book. And of course, it's going to launch March 8th on 2028. I didn't really plan that. It had to launch on International Women's Day. It happens it's going to take us that long. It happens that it's, all these 8s and 2s. So,
Good
if
numbers.
you love that. That is the true process, I think, behind a lot of the decisions. And the reason why I thought it might be interesting to talk about is because we see people do things and it's like, oh my gosh, I'd love to do that. And I don't think we talk in detail the decision of, look, when I was looking at those numbers, I was like, wow, I could probably sustain the business in a different way with a lot less work. That was the truth, right? Would the impact be the same? Of course, because we impact people. You impact people. We impacted each other in 30 minutes today.
Yeah.
So it was a really decision. And when you've been in business for a while, you take a look at those decisions. It's going to affect my family. What's my time frame going to be like? Am I ever going to have a social life? Am I ever going to go on a date again? Doesn't look like it, because apparently I've got a book to do, all those things that you take a look at, and no one really talks about those decisions and the details they need to be. And my team would be horrified if they didn't, if I was like, everyone was like clapping. No, people weren't clapping. They were digesting. They were like, this is what it's going to take. It's like when you decide to do a marathon, right?
Yep.
You really think about what's it going to take? What's the hours it's going to take? And I think that's the stuff that people don't talk about a whole lot. And I thought it'd be interesting to share that. Now everyone's going to be able to watch the process and participate in the success and maybe participate in the project. But
right.
That's behind the curtain.
So somebody listening who wants to start a business book, and a great piece of advice. Awesome. I just hope you wrote it down or replay this so you can get those notes. What's one of the first steps they should do? I hear it like I do. Guys, great idea for a book. It's a business book on finance, let's say.
Yeah.
But what's the first step?
Well, it's interesting because we have a whole division in our company. We put books out, and then we have a division where we take people from publication, and then if they want to turn it into a script and make it into a doc and get it pitched to Netflix, they can. So we do all sorts of things to support people in print. I mean, I could list 6 things off the top of my head, but when I'm working with somebody and I'm like, okay, you want to do a book? We do, because most people don't understand an internal discovery because they have that concept, right? The concept, and so we really, because a book could have many different concepts. you have to have a core piece. Like, what is your core message? And then we start deep diving, like really deep diving. Some people forget to do the research piece. Like, who else in your sector? Like, what are they saying? What's the words that they're saying? What's the colors that they're using? What is the ones that you don't like? What is it? What is, for me, I'm in marketing and media. So I'm like, let's go find out what everybody has in the world, what you love, what you don't love, what the style is, what the size of the book is. Like, that's the really creative process that starts to get you, that gets the book in your cells. Because most people, the book is in their head. And I got to get them to get the book in their cells, because once they get the book in their cells and we start bantering and we start, I won't say fantasizing about their book launch, but all the different things about the book launch. And what about you being in finance is going to be different as when someone's doing a children's. Ooh, maybe the invitations look like the size of a dollar bill, or we start to get there. They start to get enthusiastic. And when you get enthusiastic and you start to embody, you bought a red car, you see a red car, you see a red car, you see a red car. But most people bypass that. They think that their idea is the right idea. They think their color is the right idea because they love, now look at, I like white books because I like white, and but they feel they want to have it away. So it's like, how can you satisfy what your head is saying? And I'm like, guess what we're going to do? We're going to go to bookstores. And we're going to see what your division is. We're going to see where it's placed on the step. We're going to see, and we're going to see. I've had people come up with the coolest names, and I'm like, in 5 seconds, I'm like, you'll get sued. You'll get sued. Look who's got a name so similar. They're like, yeah. I go,
Yeah.
That's work. So I think it's that creative deep dive, and that's going to carry you forward. And then we start to put it into formulation. A lot of times people will come to me 2 years before their book, and I'm like, yay, 6 months, yay, a year, yay, 3 weeks, the book's launching. I'm like, we got work to do. Clean your schedule, right? They don't necessarily realize how much it takes to make a plan. Most entrepreneurs don't do a business plan. They sure in heck don't do a marketing plan. They go, oh, we're going to market on social, we're going to market through my email, and they don't do a media plan. They don't realize in their sector how many times I got to get them on the air. Okay, so this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to connect you to here, and you're going to get on this, and you're going to talk about this. And these are the questions that we're wanting formulated so that everything aligns with the intention of the core value of what will sell the book. Because you could have many core values. I mean, I could talk intro into a book about things I experienced in my life, but that's not what's going to sell the book. Like, what do you say the book's going to do? And does it actuate that? So there's so many things about a book, but that excitement will get them through the dreary part of writing it.
Yeah, and I like what you just said about, if I wrote a book about my memoirs, people don't know me, nothing against me. Tony Robbins does it. Everybody's going to read it, or an athlete or whoever. But I like that you said that. So that leads to this question I get asked all the time. What are the red flags I should look at when I'm thinking about writing a book? Like, okay, I got 3. Don't do that. Don't even write a book. What should they look for?
So in terms of red flags?
Yeah,
what are the red flags that they should turn around, not do?
Yeah, well, so they're thinking about a book about this, and they do the research. What should they be looking for? Red flags, like you just said earlier. You did great.
Oh,
that
okay.
5 seconds
So
they
yeah, if
title
they're
like,
doing that on their own, yeah. So
Yeah.
if they're doing that on their own, I'm going to tell you, everybody needs a plan. Like, you need a plan. You need timelines, and you need a plan. And I, like any big venture, like, look at the world, your world might be writing a lot of books. You meet a lot of authors. I meet a lot of authors. Our world, everyone's writing a book. We're still at only 1% of the world population of people that actually put a book out. So get that out of your head, that everybody's written a book and you're not special about it. It is special. It deserves a business plan, a timeline, a forecasting, a fiscal forecasting, like all of that. It really makes a difference. So if you don't want to listen to me, then I'll talk to you on your second book. The third, the one thing that people should watch for in terms of red flags is anything that's probably very similar in nature. So if you mentioned Tony Robbins, right? Like, if someone wanted to do a book and they know that this one's had 5 million media plans, be very careful to do something of similar nature. White, hard copy, font, those things. You really need to to come up with something that is much your own. I would be really cognizant of that, in terms of name, in terms of title, in terms of image being really similar. I would be really cognizant of that. Maybe that might be a red flag. A red flag is, I mean, I'm not going to say there's not a lot of red flags, because I live in the world of solution. So I'm just trying to put myself in a position of, make sure that when you are doing your research and you're at the library or the bookstore or whatever it is that you're doing, most people like start researching prices before they research content. That's a red flag. It doesn't matter what your book's going to cost. Our book is almost $60 in Canada. And when we launched, people were like, oh my gosh, you're not number one. When we looked at, so there's about 750,000 to 1 million books in Canada that's sold every day. And so when we launched, within 3 weeks, we were 325. I was freaking out, excited. And my friends were like, but that's pretty far from number one. I'm like, no, that's all categories that ever sold, right? So don't get too caught up on numbers. Yes, number one best-selling is important for all sorts of reasons for your marketing, but how much is your content? What is it that you want to write? And I would say one of the, I don't know if it's a red flag, but one of the barriers for people is that they feel like they have to know everything about what the book's going to do and the book's going to say before they start writing it. Your book might start to take itself over. So let's say you're doing your memoir, right? Here's something I tell people, and unless you came from unicorns and cotton candy and all that stuff, it's like, when you go to write a memoir, it's very few people, if any, that I know that have done a memoir that have not been served by having a therapist or a coach, like someone from the psychology part of it, because you're going to bring things up. You're just going to bring things up. You might decide not to put them in the book, but you're going to be going back in time, whether it was a divorce that you got over, whether it was when your mother passed away or whatever. I always say, don't do a memoir without a therapist or a counselor, truly. So you need somebody that knows psychology. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah, no, those are great pieces. I love it. Price. I know that's another big obstacle. Oh, I'm going to $60. How do they handle price if they're doing it on their own? Of course, they have somebody like you, which you probably should hire if you're thinking about writing a book. But if they're doing it on their own, they're like, I'm just going to self-publish my book. What's some things they need to know?
Yeah. So if they do a little bit, you can do, my first business plan was an 8.5 by 11. I was in a Ayurvedic massage class. I couldn't take the degree to women's studies because I had this great wanted surprise. So here I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was in a holistic massage class a few years ago. And I got tingles all over my body. And the second day in class, and I grabbed a piece of paper, and it was 8.5 by 11. And I wrote, if I do this many massages and I charge this much money, this how much money will come into the family per week. That's that. At least do a business plan like that. So you're not going to probably know, you need to know your costs before you know the price of your book. But most people go, oh, I'm going to make it for about $25, but you don't know your costs. Our hardcover adds $12 per book. It adds more money in shipping, right? How many pages? We're over 500 pages. My book, wholesale to me, from the supplier, costs more than 90% of the books that I help produce. Right. So what are you looking for? What is your book? I wanted a coffee table book. I wanted hard copy. I wanted people to. So what is the decision around your book in terms of cost should be what your actual cost is in terms of what you want to produce. Do you want it color? Ooh, I got color on the back of mine. You want color on the inside? So what is it that you want your book to do? What is it that you want it to look like? That's going to tell you your costs. And then you're going to go out and do market research and see what those cost. Now I can tell you, when we were doing the 262.20 research, I myself and I went into an Indigo bookstore. Yay, Indigo, because we're in there. In the US, you call them Barnes and Nobles. So I went in there, and I love magazines. Oh my gosh. Anyone want to buy me a present? Buy me a magazine with lots of nice pictures of architecture and art. So I'm in there and I'm looking at magazines, and I'm concerned. I mean, of course I'm concerned about price. It's $60 in Canada. This is not a normal price for a book. I have business books that are $44, but I know if you do them, you're going to save like $1 gajillion in your business, and you're not going to care about $44. This is a whole different ballgame. So when I'm there and I'm looking and I'm comparing prices and I'm like, okay, here's this anthology at 40, there's this. And then I started getting into anthologies. I'm like, wow, there's a beautiful anthology by Vogue. Here's some designers, here's some this. And those books were up to $120. So it calmed my nerve endings down, like we're priced par. But then I went into the magazine section because I wanted to look at different formats and what's the new format and what are people doing, because we're going to make ours a little more mod. This one we're going to go mod and we're going to change the shape of the book and all that. So I'm looking, but it was from looking at that and I'm like, this magazine I'm reading right now is $35. This magazine I'm reading right now, $26. This magazine, because of the beauty that had in it, because of the style, the thickness of paper, all of those things make a difference. So as someone who produces pieces of art, books, presentation, like, we just launched this, my new book launched yesterday. It's a piece of art. So don't be afraid to charge art. If your book has value, if your marketing plan can carry your message, you can put the whole starving artist, starving author on a shelf, lock it in a bucket, because it's not true. If you bring value, if your book exudes value, it has to match a marketing plan. Then you can sell a book for what it's worth. And I always say, if we paid each other what we were worth, we could all afford to pay each other what we were worth.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm going to do something unique and different. Audience, the first 3 people that reach out to Deb, getting my friend Jen with Deb.
Okay. We have the same last name. It's
yeah, same. That it was just beautiful. The first 3 people you reach out to me or Deb, we'll get her contact info in a minute here. I'm going to send you one of her books for free. I believe books are a game changer. She's told us how it's changed my life. It's changed my life. It's a podcast. So, but you just mentioned this podcast, Doing Business Servant's Heart. Deb was on it. My name doesn't matter. Just point to this. And if you go to Deb, she'll get me your contact. I just gave away a book yesterday or Friday, excuse me. Today's Monday. So yeah, I love doing that because it's my way to give back and support wonderful people like Deb. And we've come to the end here, Deb. Yeah. How can people reach out and connect with you and learn more about books or doing their own book?
So I make it really easy. I have this great website and it's called debdrummond.com. And if you go to any of the bottom of the pages, if you want to connect with me by Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or all of my socials are there. So pick your social. You can go on half the pages, and there's a lot of pages there. On half the pages, there's a contact button that you can hit. And I don't know if I should say this out loud on TV. I call podcast TV. You got a great show. But if you go there and literally fill out a form, it will bypass my team. And it'll go into my inbox. And I say within 3 days, you'll have a response from me.
Servant's heart. We started with a wonderful servant heart, and she ended with simplicity and love. And I appreciate you so much, Deb. And again, audience, reach out to me or Deb. Mention the podcast. You get a free book. You get to grow. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You get to grow, whether it's mine, Deb, whoever's. When you feel something from a podcast like this or a TV show, share with somebody because it's truly a gift. And we want to keep giving gifts. So with that being said, me and Deb want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.